A very good morning and salam sejahtera to our panel speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ming Yeow, the Research Fellow of Malaysian Youth Council. I'm pleased to become the moderator for today's webinar. Welcome to our first series of webinar with the theme Ambitious for Youth Work, working with youth during pandemic in conjunction with the 2020 celebration of Youth Work Week. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Malaysian Youth Council, together with Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Association, CAYWA, International Youth Center, Kuala Lumpur, IYC, and Institute for Social Science Studies, University Putra Malaysia, UPM, for organizing this seminar and inviting me as a moderator for today's session. In late September 2019, an outbreak of a mysterious pneumonia caused a novel coronavirus, now called COVID-19, happened in a seafood wholesale market in Wuhan, China. It subsequently spread rapidly through the world and became a global pandemic within a couple of months. On the 11th of March 2020, the World Health Organization announced the COVID-19 outbreak as a global pandemic. Until yesterday, 48 million COVID-19 cases were reported worldwide, and 1.2 million lives were sacrificed. So various approaches such as lockdowns, social distancing, have been implemented by many countries to mitigate and reduce the risk of infections. The younger generations, who are the most productive and active group in the education and labor markets, have been adversely affected by COVID-19. The pandemic not only destroyed their jobs and employment perspectives, but also disrupt their education and training, and having a serious impact on their mental well-being. So today, we have invited 3 distinguished panelists who have strong expertise and vast experience in youth work and youth development to discuss with us the issues and challenges on youth work. What are their current initiatives? And together we explore the impact of COVID-19 on youth work globally. They are Dr. John Tan. Yeah, Dr. John, please raise your hand. Say hi to everyone. Dr. John is from Commonwealth Alliance for Youth Workers Association, CAYWA. And we also have Professor Dr. Ismi, Arif Ismail. Yeah, Prof.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Prof. Ismi is from University Putra Malaysia, UPM. And our only female panelist, Miss Nazira Roslee. Yeah, Miss Nazira, please say hi to everyone. And she's from Malaysian Youth Council. So every speaker will be given 20 minutes for the sharing session. So let us start our first session. I would like to introduce to you all the first speaker, Dr. John K.E. Tan from Singapore. Dr. John is currently the Vice Chairperson of Commonwealth Alliance for Youth Workers Association, CAYWA, and the founding president of Youth Worker Association Singapore. He is also the executive director and the co-founder of Children at Risk Empowerment Association, which is called CARE Singapore. So he's also a consulting trainer of applied suicide intervention skills training, assist, and the producer of Every Youth Matters podcast show. He has a passion for training and developing youth, as well as those who are reaching out to the youth at risk. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. John to share with us. Please give him a hand.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And I'm going to attempt to share my screen now in just 1 second. And my topic is about updating youth work in a COVID world. But I guess it's good just to share with you what I do in different capacities. So for this morning, I am representing a group of youth worker associations around the world, basically in Commonwealth, called CAYWA, and I'm the current vice chairperson. I'm also the founding president of Youth Work Association in Singapore, and I'm also executive director for CARE Singapore. And what I would like to share is that this pandemic is very unprecedented, and it has brought us together. And very recently, CAYWA hosted 2 sessions. So I have posted on this slide because you will see some good friends here. If you can see carefully, right in the middle, you will see Prof. Ismi, you will see Jufitri, and our friend Dr. Lee, right? So we participated in a global discussion just to find out the impact of this pandemic on youth work. And for myself, I want to share with our viewers today some lessons and takeaways about what we can do in a time like this. So this is my sharing my personal reflections. It doesn't necessarily represent the official views, but it's good for us to be able to discuss. And later, when we have questions, I will be very, very happy to share. The 4 main things that we are looking at will be, the first one is, I call it gaps and deficiencies. Second one is isolation. The third is resilience. And the fourth, innovation, right? So 4 key implications that COVID has brought upon this world that we are in today. And from the youth work point of view, right? So firstly, gaps and deficiencies were really highlighted. So you see this imagery, it is a very good one because it shows a jigsaw puzzle. And from a distance, from very far, it seems that everything seems very nice. Of course, I must then say that because I come from Singapore and we like our systems all to be orderly, to be working fine and all that. In the initial days when COVID hit us, we were prepared and we had everything all placed in order until something almost literally exploded. And that was when the virus spread among our migrant workers. Because prior to that, we were seeing numbers like maybe 2 or 3 or 5, suddenly jumped to hundreds to thousands. Why? Because there were deficiencies, there were gaps that only when you place a magnifying glass, then you can see the missing pieces. So COVID as a pandemic has brought up very clearly, you cannot hide it, all the cracks in societies. So if you have left out one group of population, and then because COVID has come about, they will be left out. And it will be very clear to see, especially during the times of lockdown. In Singapore, our term is circuit breaker, as though we are waiting for the electricity to come back. No, we were isolated and all that. And then we realized that, wow, at least in my agency where I'm helping to run the youth work programs with my youth workers and psychologists, we realized we had like about maybe 12%. As a small agency, we reach out to about 1,200 young people every year on a weekly basis. So about 10 to 12% of them were in serious problem. They didn't have enough food. They didn't have enough electricity, no wireless. So the children couldn't do, home-based learning, as we call it. There were maybe if they have devices, they had one and they share among the whole family. So all this we didn't realize. All this we didn't plan for until the crisis came. And so the gaps and deficiencies were brought up to the fore. It's good because we can then do something about it. It's bad because groups of people had to suffer and go through it. And one of the things that they suffered from was isolation, because everything depended on the wireless or the connectivity of the internet. And when you don't have it, what happens? You are isolated. You cannot be connected. So just seeing virtually, it may work for people who have the resources and accesses, but what for people who don't? And there was a period of time we were not allowed to go out unless we are considered essential services. And that is to deliver food, to deliver medical, healthcare, and so on. And for a while, youth work and counseling wasn't considered essential enough, right? So the gaps came out, there were people isolated, and the isolation felt terrible because they were away from the usual form of connectivity. But we also noticed a very small minority, they were very happy to be isolated. Why? Because they see upon themselves as being very introverted. So they were very happy hiding behind the scene. And even in a webinar, you will never get to see them because you will see their names, that's all. And they were very happy to be isolated. In fact, when our economy started reopening, right, we're still very slowly reopening, they don't want to go back. They're very happy to be where they are. So for youth workers, you just start thinking, wow, not everybody is sad or affected being isolated. There's a small group who are very happy being isolated. So that's what I learned, right? But one thing, as I mentioned earlier, we were worried, at least in my little agency, when we noticed about 12% of the 1,000 over people, so that's about 100 plus, who were, either without connectivity or they were in trouble. We were so worried for them. And when we were in the lockdown for about 2 months, we were wondering what would happen. The moment we could get onto, the transport to go and visit them and find them, and to look for these 100 plus young people and their families. And guess what? We realized, they were quite fine. They managed somehow. Resilience is a resilience. So the human spirit is resilient. In this picture, you will see here from I can't, and you cut off the apostrophe T. You can do it. But because we sometimes were so anxious, we were so worried that, what can they do? They rely on us. No, this is the whole concept of self-reliance, of self-determination. Never do things for people when they can or should do it for themselves. So resilience, I find, is a key factor. There are a few aspects to it, and this has shown that people will learn to find a way out, but society can help. And one of the ways that we can help which is fantastic, because we found innovation has just come out naturally from this pandemic. New ways of doing youth work, new ways of adapting. And even today, I'm speaking to you in the eastern part, in Singapore, far away from you, maybe in Kuala Lumpur or other parts of Peninsula or other parts of Malaysia, so far away, and yet I feel connected. the innovation that has a reason shows up that things can be done if we are open to it. I was told of a very good quotation and I learned it. And it goes something like this. It says, yesterday's question is today's improvement. Yesterday's question is today's improvement. And youth work, if we are going to be innovative, keeping up with the times and all of this, we need to be able to take in questions. We need to be able to say, yes, let me think about it. There's a better way that I can do it. And so these are the lessons that I have learned so far from the pandemic, that it has brought up gaps and deficiencies. It show up for it. And we find that, wow, increasingly there are pockets of people who are isolated. So in youth work, we really need to go out and reach out to them. And also at the same time, know that we are resilient and help to build that resilience in the mind as well as in the community structures. And there's always a new way. All right. So I'm going to just end my sharing here because I believe that maybe there'll be questions, but Mr. Moderator, back to you now. That ends my presentation. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. John, okay, for those inspiring ideas and insightful words. So that just now, Dr. John has mentioned about 4 points, 4 key points, which is about, okay, during the pandemic, okay, we can see, okay, we can reveal the gaps and deficiency happens, okay, in the society and in the community, and isolation happens amongst people, and it's really challenging for each one of us. But when we look at it, when we look into it, actually, okay, the resilience are there within the people, and the job of youth work, the youth workers can help them to develop their resilience, and also innovation plays a very important role in solving the problem. And okay, one phrase that I really love was, okay, yesterday's questions is today's improvement. So for the youth workers, okay, don't be I mean, when we face challenge, make sure, okay, or any questions we face actually is an idea or is a motivation for us to find a solution and improvement. So thank you very much again, Dr. John. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the next speaker. Okay, our lady speaker, Miss Nazira Roslee. She is an executive committee member of Malaysian Youth Council. And she's also the deputy chairperson of Women and Family Affairs Standing Committee of Malaysian Youth Council. She has been actively involved in the Girl Guide Association of Malaysia and has been a state program commissioner from 2015. Recently, she was elected to be the Malaysian AIDS Council Executive Committee member. Ms. Nazira is a teacher by profession and had won several awards in the field of education. She was named the top 100 teachers in Malaysia for the 21st Century Teaching and Learning campaign by the Ministry of Education in 2019. Now, may I call upon Ms. Nazira to deliver her presentation. Let's give her a loud applause.
Thank you, Mr. Chai, and I would like to thank IYC and MDM for actually having me here together with you guys to talk about the youth work during the pandemic. So what I'm doing here today, what I'm going to share is basically what Malaysian Youth Council has done so far during the pandemic, and maybe we can start a discussion together with that. Before I start, I would like to just simply introduce what Malaysian Youth Council is, because I feel like it is very important for us to know what is Malaysian Youth Council. I know a lot of people are not very familiar with it, so I'm just gonna share with you guys what is Malaysian Youth Council. So I'm gonna share with my screen. a bit. Hold on. All right. So the Malaysian Youth Council has started since 1948, and it is a non-governmental body. So it's basically a main body of youth organization in Malaysia, and we represent the voices of youth to the government agencies, and we are very involved in the creation of youth policy, emphasizing planning problems, implementation, and effectiveness of MYC organization. So as you can see on the slides that MBM is so big. We have 39 affiliates with 11 from socioeconomic organization, religious 6 from religious organization, 6 from uniform bodies where I came from with the Girl Guides, and 2 students organization. And under us there will be 14 states youth council and 103 district youth council. And as you can see, Malaysian Youth Council is very diverse. We try to include almost everyone, and we do have Majlis Belia Orang Asli and Majlis Belia Majlis Belia OKU with us. So we try to be more diverse, and as you can see, we have 103 district youth council all throughout Malaysia. And these are the 8 targeted youth that we actually touch on. So we have youth at school, youth in higher institution, youth in career, youth in group, youth mass, Malaysian youth abroad, minorities, and youth at risk. So what I'm going to share you guys what Malaysian Youth Council did during the pandemic based on these 8 targeted youth. So our focus for Malaysian Youth Council is with leadership, volunteerism, education, advocacy, and also international. So international is basically our way of connecting and networking with other youth. So if you can see, these are some of the international bodies that we are affiliated with. CYC, Way, of course, with CYC and also OIC Youth. So with that, I'm just gonna share with you guys how Malaysian Youth Council has been dealing with the pandemic. So let me stop sharing. So sorry. Okay. Like any other NGOs, we started first. I think the first thing that Majlis Belia Malaysia or Malaysian Youth Council focuses on at the time was giving out bantuan, or we tried to help as much youth as possible during the pandemic because no one saw it coming, I guess, and we had collaboration with all our affiliated members. So the first thing that we did under Relawan NBM, that is headed by our Faiz Suhaimi, which is a great OKU youth leader. So we first start when the first week of lockdown, there's a lot of help was given to the homeless people, and then we distribute masks and hand sanitizer to a lot of the riders at the time. A lot of the riders for Food Panda or Grab Food in the city centers, or a lot of them are youth. So we distribute masks and hand sanitizers, and through Majlis OKU Youth Council and 6th Youth Council, they have distributed food in PPR, single mothers, and also affected groups, because at the time at the first MCO, it was very hard to have movement around, so there were problems where people were not getting food. And then with the joint bodies such as GPMS and PKPIM, they have collaborated, and they were very active in helping students that were stranded in campus. A lot of students were not allowed to go back. They were not allowed to travel, so they were stranded in campus. And at the time, there were 2 biggest main problem with the youth in campus. It was either food and also online learning, because at the time a lot of youth did not, and it was surprising to a lot of people that a lot of youth did not have the facilities like laptops, or even the actual a better use of handphones, or a better model of handphones for them to actually do online learning. So they were helping with that. And with the uniform bodies, the Scouts and the Girl Guides actually provided face shields for the frontliners. And I think I need to also highlight that a lot of youth in Borneo, especially in Sabah under Azwan, they were very, very proactive in helping the youth in Borneo. Not just from the first until up until now, they were still giving out help for not just youth, but also all everyone there. Because at the time, even Kota Belud had a flood. So yeah, that was like that very devastating in Sabah. But the youth, if you can see, they were moving right a lot. They were moving very fast. So from the all the volunteer program that I just told you, you can see how the youth mobilized themselves very fast, and it was just done throughout the internet. So we know that the youth are very, very capable, and they were very tech savvy. So it was done very fast at the youth, and the collaboration happened because everyone was online and was willing to reach out, and MBM also helps to um, promote any funds or any programs that was done not by NGO that is affiliated with MBM. So at the time, it was no longer like, oh, let's just promote any NGOs that was under MBM, but also any NGOs. At the time, everyone was just wanted to help everyone. We had a hashtag going on in Malaysia, which is kita jaga kita, which means we helped ourselves. So at the time, it was that hashtag actually helped people or mobilize youth in terms of just let's just help, not caring where you're from, not caring from which area you are, and then just move on. But when we stopped with the MCO and we did, Malaysia did greatly. We managed to have 0 COVID cases. So we move on as per usual from online, from just focusing on giving help. We started our work back to usual, but still we tried to focus on the issues that was raised up by COVID. So for one example was there is a lot of people that lost jobs. That was a very big issue that for us to tackle on. So how MBM reacted to that, we had 2 main programs that was done. That was the first was the Youth Entrepreneur Hub by our own Noliana Muhammad. So she had this initiative to implement concept of social enterprise among youth entrepreneurs. So as for now, she has impacted about 30,000 youth throughout Malaysia. So especially towards the OKUU, single mothers, and Orang Asli and B40 groups. So that was one of the initiatives that was done by our EXCO member, which is Noliana. And then the other one that was headed by Abu Kadir and also Atika, which is ProCans, which is a collaboration between HSBC Malaysia with Malaysian Youth Council to help youth to equip themselves with the skills needed with today's job market. Because at the end of the day, a lot of youth felt that unemployment was one of the number one issue that we felt we need to address. So that's how MBM has done it. And then, but we still move on with our education and advocacy movement. It might have done differently now. It's mostly online, but with the positive thing that when we move this online, more and more people can join, as opposed to it's in a small meeting room. Now roundtable discussions are now online and more people can join in, and we did a lot of those during MCO, the first MCO, and now the second MCO. Like for example, the roundtable for the creative industry, and then that was actually done. All the resolution was sent to YBhg, and then we had a session with Datuk Sri Utama Idris Harun, which is the President of World Assembly of Youth, on about youth from the global politics towards the local politics. So everything was done exactly as how it should be for Majlis Belia Malaysia or Malaysian Youth Council. It's just now a very different way where we move it online. So upcoming, we know we have an advocacy for OKU youth for them to learn about freedom of speech and also video making. So there's not much change that we did, but what we learned from this pandemic is that number one, collaboration is very important. You cannot move on your own as an NGO or the youth or a youth organization on your own. You do need to work with other youth organization or other agencies, like maybe government agencies, or even like HSBC suddenly coming to us saying, hey, let's work on something. So collaboration is very important when you want to maintain your youth work all throughout the pandemic. And then second one that I think that we learn is also study the discipline of charity. So when we had the first MCO, there was a lot of help that was given down to the people. But the thing is, we realized very quickly on that we need to adhere to a lot of SOPs before all that being done. So you need to be really quick and being able to adapt to the situation that was needed. Because I remember at the time we need to check on all the volunteers whether they had been traveling to any affected countries at the moment, and then checking on it feels simple now, like checking on temperature, wearing masks, hand sanitizer. It feels simple now, but at the when the pandemic first started, it was like something that it wasn't normal. So now after a while, all these SOPs can be added very easily. So uh when people, a lot of people wanted to help, a lot of people wanted to volunteer, but at the same time we have to ensure they would know how to all the SOPs that they need to follow. So a lot of it now, I think, an impact on the youth association in Malaysia right now. We might have focused on a lot on volunteering, but now I think we can see a trend where we're moving towards helping youth in upskilling and reskilling for the purpose of employee marketability. And so and that's it. So that's how MBM has actually helped, or how MBM reacted to the pandemic, and how we move on with our youth work all throughout the pandemic. We still, I would feel like we still go on as per usual. It's just mainly a different way that we have to figure out, which is online. And good thing about youth is we're really, really savvy with technology, but at the same time, we still need to think about the youth that are not privileged enough to have online facilities as simple as the internet, as what Miss Viviana had shown us, that she had to climb a tree just to be on an online class. So from there, with the help of technology and with the help of being viral, we can actually see what's going on in certain places and not be trapped in our own bubble. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Miss Nazira, okay, for your presentation, and it's really very inspiring too. And okay, you have mentioned about you have introduced about MBM. MBM is or MYC, Malaysian Youth Council, is the National Youth Council for Malaysia, and it plays a lot of roles in terms of advocacy, in terms of education, awareness, international relation, and etc. So many activities has been implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic, and to assist youth and also the underprivileged during these critical times in terms of materials, and also in terms of facilities, and so on. And there were also a lot. I heard about a lot of this what we call the initiative has been initiated, such as like to help in terms of entrepreneurial aspect, in terms of career, in terms of education, awareness, advocacy, and also one of the most important thing of MBM is it has a very wide network. locally and also internationally. So by mobilizing and bringing together all the resources from various parties, we can do a great job, and we can really extend our helping hands to everyone, to everyone, and to uh, in all the what we call that, the community, throughout the whole entire community. So thanks again, and to Miss Nazira. So let's come to the next panelist speaker, ladies and gentlemen. So the next speakers, we will have Prof. Dr. Ismi Arif Ismail. Hi, Prof. Ismi.
Hi there.
Yeah. Yeah, Prof. Ismi received a doctorate in continuing education from the University of Warwick, United Kingdom. Currently, he is the director of Institute for Social Science Studies, University Putra, Malaysia, UPM, a research institute that focuses on youth well-being. He is also a professor at Faculty of Educational Studies. Additionally, he is one of the principal researchers at National Institute of Youth Development Research under the Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia. He served UPM since year 2000 and has been publishing many books and research papers in area of extension and continuing study, leadership, youth development, and human resource development. Prof. Ismi is also teaching Commonwealth Diploma in Youth Development at UPM in collaboration with Commonwealth Youth Program London. Now, allow me to invite Prof. Ismi to share with us. Let us give him a hand. Thank you. Prof, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tay, Dr. John, and Nazira, and then everyone who are together with us in this webinar. So I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me, and I will now share the slide prepared for our discussion. Okay. So I'm based at the Institute for Social Science Studies in University Putra, Malaysia. And for the presentation today, it is based on a research conducted with my colleague, Dr. Lee Kuan Ming. And the title of our discussion paper would be Using Technology Enhanced Education to Empower Youth During the Pandemic. So this is the, okay, so the content of the presentation will share the experience of how educators and youth workers optimize technology enhanced education employed to support and empower youth to thrive through the crisis. We talk about not only pandemic but also other VUCA situation, and here I'm sure most of us are familiar with this term VUCA, as in volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situation. So I'll be talking about how youth in both formal and non-formal situation works during the pandemic, and how youth workers work together to support them. So the world today is no longer like what it was in the previous decades, and this year, in 2020, we are, badly affected, with this crisis. But actually, it is a blessing in disguise for us to prepare for a more VUCA world in decades ahead. And based on our research and engagement with youth, we notice that youth is the most vulnerable to these new changes, as they'll be the generation who will have to undergo and undertake drastic changes to their lives. But let's look at this positively so that they can cope, bounce back in order to survive and to thrive. So this new decade has started with a sudden and unexpected eruption of a health crisis, and it has triggered other crises simultaneously. We talk about education, the way youth learn, economy, in terms of unemployment, poverty, livelihood, and sustainability. And all this has affected their lifestyles on a daily life. So as youth workers, the question is, what can we do to help the youth to thrive through this crisis? And this is not about being negative or nor pessimistic, but actually about being realistic and how to take this positively in order to face these challenges together. So based on our observation and the data that we collected, one of the solutions that we found out is the answer actually lie in education and technology for youth education and youth work practices. And I agree with John and Nazira talking about resilient. It is about empowering the youth in educating themselves. But of course, at the same time, we cannot deny the fact that education comes with guidance and support. So this is what we term as the importance of talaki, the educator-learner interaction. And this educator does not mean only adult, but also peer. So technology, especially the new digital and AI technologies, will be the new tools to enhance youth education. And we see that these approaches will be the drivers for the youth in their obligatory and leisure lifestyles to enable them to thrive through the crisis. So this is a diagram explaining what we foresee in terms of the movement that we are going to lead towards. So if you talk about educating youth to thrive in crisis, the optimizing technology in education, and getting adult and peer guidance and support so that our youth are able to bounce back and thrive. So the first section I will share with you based on a study that we did with UNESCO on challenges and responses by educators to support youth at the higher education institutions. So these are the challenges. If you notice, at the national level, we work with the ministry. So the movement control hampers, the semester calendar, the curriculum, instruction, delivery at all universities nationwide. And we found out that not all students are ready in terms of managing their well-being and learning. There are reports of some experience stress and anxiety during the crisis and the new normal. And then on top of that, not all university faculty are fully trained to deliver teaching through remote and online mode. And we also came across, some cyber security attacks, which dampen the continuity of teaching and learning the universities. So basically at the national level, what the ministry and the universities and other higher learning institutions did was to emphasize on the importance of access and equity to learning for all students and faculty nationwide. So this is about, having the right infrastructure, and then to understand that not all places are wired. So how do you vary, your approach in terms of accessing students? So and then the ministry also support universities by coming up with national level policy decisions or moving towards alternative curriculum and delivery. And then we also activate multiple stakeholders for industries and communities to provide infrastructure and infrastructure to the faculty members and also students. And then the ministry also has invested in cybersecurity defense system to ensure efficient continuity of teaching and learning is in place nationwide. So that is at the national level. And at the institutional level, same challenges. So basically the university communities focus on access and equity and provide a range of social, emotional, and human support services to enable our students, our youth to learn. And another one is to enhance, the faculty's pedagogical knowledge and skills through offering support for remote and online teaching, helping educators to get used to the new norm of teaching so that they can access students, no matter where the students and youth are. So basically, lecturers have to, to start using social media and online forums, so that they not only can access students, but so they can also share their best practices with their colleagues. And also develop resilient faculty and student support groups through university-wide help desk portal. So that is from the perspective of formal education in higher learning institutions. Another study that we did with the youth workers is a Commonwealth study on challenges and responses by youth workers to support youth and communities during COVID-19. So this is a project that we carried out, UPM carried out with partner institutions in Commonwealth. So this is the overview in terms of findings and the way forward. So if you look at, this is the data that we collected from the youth workers, Malaysian Youth Council also were involved. So in terms of communication and outreach, we found out that the youth workers basically go for online communication and social media platform, meeting application, websites, email, and YouTube, to educate our youth. And then there are some small face-to-face meetings, especially those places where you have problem in terms of internet connectivity. There are also some individual home visits, if possible, and the youth workers make use of newsletters and using radio, to access youth. And then in terms of learning strategies and priorities, it seems that during COVID-19, the training priorities shift, to basically the management of COVID-19. Basically, not only training youth workers, but also getting youth, to shift the way they connect with youth workers. And then there are use of devices and internet to coordinate and create and share content with youth. And then we have focused, the youth workers have focused very much into COVID-19 related community-based projects, increase food and basic necessities for needy youth and families, direct delivery of study materials to youth who cannot access internet. We also have radio talk shows to increase awareness about COVID-19 related issues. There are also programs, additional counseling and social emotional education to the young. We also involve parents in the training of youth to equip them with skills from home. There are some small training to equip youth with computer and internet skills. And we also utilize case studies and personal projects closer to where youth live to make sure that even at the grassroots, we can support youth. So the following are some of the challenges that we notice need to be addressed. First is reduced access to funds for operations and fundraising challenges in terms of bureaucratic challenges and whatnot. So these are the things that youth workers have to understand on how to, to negotiate, to make sure that the synergy across sectors, can be further enhanced. And there were reduced face-to-face access to youth because of this social distancing. So there were fewer opportunities for experiential learning. So we need to, that's why we believe that technology can help in terms of this one. And then there'll be some increased cost of youth work because besides that, there are reduced access to critical resources in terms of electricity, internet access. And there are cases of demoralization among youth. And there are some lack of cooperation and suspicion. So this is not just in one country, but in other countries as well. So there were even parental opposition to youth work, due to family stressors, things like that. So these are the things that youth workers need to understand. Psychologically, how do we get buy-in from all sectors, and then reduce economic opportunities to channel youth into. And we have also problems, in terms of having fewer volunteers, and there's a need for more volunteers to come in. So in terms of the youth engagement empowerment, this is what we have been trying to get youth workers to, to champion in the way they work with youth, from embrace to engage, ensure, educate, enlighten, enable, up to empower youth, so that we can establish what we mentioned about resiliency, among youth. So again, we talk about crisis. We notice that despite all this, some Malaysian youth, through a youth program, have found ways to thrive positively through the current health and economic crisis in order to sustain their mental and physical health. So what we need to do is everyone should come together and then provide the support. Okay, in a crisis situation like this, we found out that many youths have become very creative and innovative in optimizing their free time, and they are willing to share their experiences basically to support each other in learning and in communicating through digital technology such as social media and things like that. So this platform have become their tools to interact, communicate, educate themselves, and gain attention from the community and the world. And then there's a mushrooming of the online community of practice. And we noticed that these digital tools and technology have also been integrated into teaching and engagement with the learners, as distance virtual learning is now the new norm in education and youth work. So the landscape of youth education has evolved. We have to accept that the formal form of classroom and in-person classes have now take a back seat. We need to innovate. So instead, the way forward is to go for this future classroom. The classroom is everywhere, and learning has now geared towards non-formal education and virtual online learning. And this is where digital technology-based learning is becoming the new norm in terms of youth education and youth work. We foresee that education through technology is the new future in teaching and learning, teaching and educating youth. And in UPM, we have foreseen the need for this new kind of learning. So we have come up with our Putra Future Classroom that is basically just like a Googleplex, that try to educate educators on the new way of educating and work with youth. So under the tagline of technology enhanced Talaki, the highlight here is Talaki, to enhance the educator and learner interaction through the use of technology. So before I pass back to Tay, just would like to share a short video on what is the initiative that we have done in UPM to empower educators so that these educators can empower our youth. Okay. So this is basically the philosophy behind. So it's very customized and personalized. Okay, underpinning the with the philosophies, the right principles and values. And okay, now I want to share this video with everybody. So this is the Putra Future Classroom. runs like a Googleplex. So basically, this idea of Putra Future Classroom started in UPM, and now we have optimizing it in terms of our youth education and youth work. So, these are the core elements that we have in the future classroom, talking about the physical and virtual learning context in terms of getting youth into active learning. And basically, in terms of the psychosocial outcomes, we found out that students are more involved, making use of their heutagogical skills, peer teaching, peer learning, and also enhanced cooperation in terms of supporting during this pandemic situation. So these are the challenges and responses within the VUCA world. We noticed that in this pandemic, it has somewhat prevents youth from engaging in on the field positive physical activities. We have issue of access and equity in participation. There's a twin challenge of constraints in making virtual learning a priority with the need to enhance mental and physical resilience and well-being. And then if using technology, there are risks of cybersecurity and online scams. So we need to retrain educators and youth workers on delivering learning through remote and online modes. And the responses that we would like to recommend is the need to employ out of the box and innovative mindset to come up with new, leisure choices, other youth related activities. Requires emotional support from mentors or experienced adults to enable youth to empower themselves in determining their new positive learning. But I would say that it's not mentors, not only adult, but also peer-to-peer kind of support. And then coaching youth workers on how to help youth to focus on living with new normal and realities, and educate youth on maximizing technology use for their learning and avoiding unnecessary cyber risk, and then using technology to simulate various games indoors to promote mental and physical well-being, and finally using new technologies and social media to educate and promote positive youth development activities online. So basically, let's look at this as a blessing in disguise. Youth workers should be very positive so that we can send the positive vibration to the youth, and hopefully we can bounce back and thrive through the crisis. Thank you. I pass back to you, Tay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Ismi. You have highlighted about the challenges of teaching and learning during this during the pandemic crisis, and also you have informed that about how to build the competency and how to utilize technology, as well as the cyber security aspect um, of this this learning, teaching and learning. And some of the initiative you also can mention about the synergies, and also the 8 E's, no, is the 8 E's, no, and also the new normal lifestyles and all. So I believe that with the use of technology, and with the improve of the competency, and also and making the learning, teaching and learning more interactive and more fun, as you have shared with us just now, including games. So I think how good we were when if during our time we have games and all for learning. Right. So thanks again, Prof. Ismi, for this very, very enlightening sharing. And ladies and gentlemen, now we are coming to the Q&A sessions. Since we are using Facebook Live, so if you have any questions to our panel speakers, you can key in. Your questions through your Facebook Live, and please indicate your name, your organization, as well as to which panel speakers you would like to direct your questions to. Now I'm open to Q&As, okay, from the audiences. And in fact, okay, let me look at the chat box. Yeah, there are already a few questions I've received. Okay, they're all together 3. Okay, maybe for the first question, maybe I will let me go to the okay, since Prof Ismi has just finished his presentation, and it is pertaining to one of the very technical term. Okay, so this is from okay, never mentioned who's the audience, but okay, the question is, can the panelists, okay, especially Prof Ismi, help to explain what is heutagogical
Okay.
learning?
Heutagogical.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so basically, heutagogical is before this we have pedagogical, andragogical. Heutagogical basically is about peer teaching, peer learning, where you collaborate and try to educate one another. So there's no more one way kind of teaching and learning. So heutagogical is about learning from one another, because everyone has their strength, their experience. So at the end of the day, we together co-educate one another. So there's no such thing as, because when we talk about youth adult partnership, there's no longer adult knows everything. There are certain things that adult has to learn from youth and vice versa. So that's what heutagogical is all about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Ismi. Okay, for the answering. And let's go to the next questions. Okay, we go back to the first questions. The questions from Putra A1. Okay, through FB Live of IYC Malaysia. The question is, what can youth contribute to the society or community during this COVID-19 pandemic? I think this question is very general. It's open to all the panelists. Maybe may I know which panelists would like to answer this question? Dr. John or Ms. Nazira?
Okay, I'll try. I will attempt to answer that. I think it's a very good question, because it emphasizes that the young people, the youth, as part of a society as anyone else. And often we use the term the youth, the future of the world or society, right? I actually disagree. They are not only the future, they are the present, right? So sometimes then we bypass them because we think, you haven't grown up yet. You wait until you grow up, then we will involve you. No, now is the time. The pandemic has shown the gap for what it is, and that is that everyone can contribute. So as to ask, what can they contribute, right? So as long as the people in charge, people in control, adults, are willing to let them contribute, there will be a part for them, right? If you ask me, technically they may not, but yet, as Nazira pointed out earlier, digitally, right, they are there. So it's for us to tell them that the world today, right, needs all of us inside. And the world tomorrow particularly belongs to the young. Therefore, they need to fix it today, right? And not do repair for what adults did yesterday. So I believe they can contribute a lot. You never know, right? So I will start from that basis. Yes.
I think I would like to add on with that. Okay, I have met a lot of very enthusiastic youth. They want to be on the field. They want to help as much as they can. But the thing is, like the first step, and I think that you should do if you felt like you want to help, is to reach out. You have to start reaching out to all the NGOs that is available. And in Malaysia, we have a mushrooms of a lot of youth NGOs. Not necessarily, I mean, like do come to Malaysian Youth Council and say that you want to volunteer under Relawan MBM. That would be cool. But if you reach out to all the NGOs, because they are already there, they know what is needed, so you can just help. So you don't have to help, I would say, financially. I mean, like not everyone can help financially, but you do have skills that you can help. Number one, to share. Like everyone, I think youth has a very good network online. So sharing is very important, especially when I remember there was a movement in Sabah trying to get funds so that students can buy top-ups, and so they have data to be online. So like if you want to help, please share those kinds of already in online initiative that is happening. If you could not help out financially, but they do, some of the NGOs really do need other skills such as like graphic designs. They do need skills, maybe manpower if they are on the field. So do look at what are the organization that you're willing, or maybe close to your area. It would be better if you work out your own community, because I know there's a lot of the community that have their own things ongoing, and that is from your side. But also I need to point out for all the youth organization that is available, also open up your arms to receive all these people. Like do consider asking for help as well. And if you're a youth organization, help out each other. But yeah, if you're a youth and you're very interested to help in the pandemic, not necessarily be in the front lines with our doctors and our nurses, but maybe you can help in other ways as well. So that's it.
Okay, if I strongly agree with John and Nazira. That's what we talk about, heutagogical, everyone can contribute. I agree, youth are not future leaders. They are partners in nation building. Then the future is always now, so there's no such thing as delaying, optimizing their strengths. So yes, I think based on our engagement with youth and other stakeholders, it goes down to mutual understanding and mutual respect. How to coordinate and basically working together. So that is the spirit. If we can push these bureaucratic challenges, I think youth are always welcome to work with everyone. It is much better, from youth to youth, so I think this is the way to go. Let us join hand, and then youth are always welcome to support and join the coordinated effort. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all the panelists, okay, for the answer of these questions. Yeah, okay, to help, okay, is not the duty of only a certain community, a certain group. It's responsibilities of all, regardless you are youth, you are not a youth, or you are the elderly. So these are all our obligations to the community. And let's go to I have, okay, and one more questions. And these questions is also for all the panelists. The questions is, resiliency is one of the keywords in our discussion based on the context of pandemic. Apart from NGOs and the learning institution, do you think government too should play a role in improving a resilient system to buffer the impact of pandemic for young people? What do you think the role of the government in relation to providing resilient system to youth work? And and before I pass to the panelists, maybe is any audiences or any friends, on Facebook Live, you can post more questions to the session, so that we will get our panelists to answer. Thank you. Now the floor is to the panelists. Who want to answer first, Anna? Dr. Ismi. Prof. Ismi,
Yes.
since you are here, okay, please
Okay.
answer this first.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that question. You know, that's why if we remember, we mentioned about in terms of the impact, you know, it does not only just impact on their well-being, but also on, you know, in terms of economy, education, so on and so forth. So I agree that actually the work has to go across stakeholders. We see evidences, ministries, you know, be it in education, trying their very best to, you know, get schools and parents, you know, to help our youth, you know, to continue learning. And then in terms of economy, the government has came up with a lot of, you know, stimulus package. I remember with Ministry of Youth and Sports, we fought for this gig economy, getting youth into it, and then provide, you know, the appropriate incentive. We have also pushed for the you know, the social security net to youth who are involved in gig economy. And then the way forward, we are now, you know, thanks to our Singaporean good friend, you know, we have also moving into the job creation initiative, trying to get and provide more opportunities for our youth who are unemployed or underemployed, you know, to basically shift and get themselves employed or create their own profession. So basically, I agree that this work is not just NGO researchers or practitioners. It should have ministry and also the industry support. Then together, you know, across all stakeholders, we join hand and support youth.
Can I just jump in here? Thanks, Prof. I think in Prof's presentation, he brought up the VUCA acronym, and right in the middle of the VUCA acronym is the word complex. And so now you notice that the pandemic has really shown that the issues surrounding our daily lives are very complex now. So it's no longer a very simple solutioning that can take care of the problem. It's very complex. Complex problems require multi-layered, multi-level solutioning. It's not just one person or one group of people. So everybody has to come together because everyone brings their own strengths. And so I envisage from the point of view of youth work, then what does youth workers do, right? Because we advocate for the young person's voice, we advocate for the person's inclusion, then in, you know, social ecosystemic theory, there's something whereby we have to move between the systems. The technical term is called mesosystemic, but it simply means that the youth work advocates will go around and weave this kind of networks of support, be it government, be it political, be it everywhere. Youth workers are needed to pull in so that the surrounding support networks for the young person is strengthened. I think that's when we are able to really move the needle just by a little bit, particularly in complex situations.
So youth workers and resource linkers, right, John?
Yes, very much so. Yes, very much so.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the panelists. Okay. I'm still waiting for a new question coming in. Okay. So can I have our secretary to assist me with the? Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So there's another questions. Okay. He didn't mention to any panelists. So the question is the nature of the nature of unstructured youth work in Malaysia is sometimes considered informal. So what are the things that are needed to be improved to ensure the profession is known as secure and safe job sector, So I think this one will be relevant to our Malaysian panelists, yeah, Prof. Ismi and also Ms. Nazira. And I think the second part of the question is meant for Dr. John, which is for CAYWA perspective. What kind of support that is available to improve the condition of youth work in Malaysia? And can you share a bit on your experience in Singapore? So maybe we start with Dr. John, please, to share from the Singapore perspective.
Okay, so
Dr. John?
yeah, since it was mentioned also about CAYWA, let me just put in a word quickly.
Dr.
CAYWA
John?
is, yeah, can you hear me? Ken?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you please answer the questions from our audience, okay, pertaining to the experience from Singapore perspective and the CAYWA perspective?
Yeah, okay.
In terms
Yes.
of, okay, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? I thought connection was a little bit okay. So
Yes.
from the CAYWA perspective, the idea of CAYWA Coming Alliance together is about youth worker associations around the world. So around the world, what we are trying to do is to improve the capabilities. So starting this week, through the Commonwealth, we have launched youth work labs. So once a month, we will come together and we will discuss and present some innovative idea that is offered complimentary, right? You come onto the webinar and then you can pick up a new skill or talent. So it's limited in that sense, but yet because we are going by the alliance coming together. So from the approach of Singaporean perspective, youth work, the practice of youth work has many layers. Although it is a lot focused on the at-risk youth population, there's as much in the leadership as well as the community building development portion. And it is recognized that we cannot do it all alone because it's so complex. And we get very overwhelmed sometimes thinking we're all alone, but we are not alone. And we need, and in fact, they always joke that youth workers are very friendly people, right? So our profession is that we want to be friends to the young people, but at the same time, we need to be friends to the powers to be so that they will lend their support. So we continue to do that. The government officials in Singapore are very close to the ground, vis-a-vis the community organizing, coming all together. We like the idea that it's always inter-ministry. So where everybody comes together and talk. Yeah, we cannot avoid that. Yeah.
Can I add, Teh? I agree with John.
Yeah.
That's why we have been trying our very best to professionalize youth workers. Back in UPM, back in 2005, since Prof. Azimi's days. And thank God we have managed to get this pass through. We have just formalized our youth work, under 3 certification of the National Occupation Skill Standard, NOS, in which Teh also is involved in terms of developing the module to develop youth workers as professionals. And actually, through this, what we hope to have a youth worker council where you bring in youth practitioners, NGO activists, youth researchers, youth policymakers, and the officers together to work to support one another for the benefit of our youth. So we are in Malaysia now. We are moving towards a quote unquote unstructured youth work ecosystem to a more systematic and proper governance in terms of everyone will be getting the support in terms of their work, either as a youth researcher, or a youth practitioners, or a youth policymakers. So the way forward is to have that council, to regulate, but regulate not meaning very strict, but actually to make sure that everything is in proper governance. We learn from CAYWA, we learn from our colleagues in other countries on how to make this youth work as a profession that is recognized, respected, and quality, so that our youth are in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Miss Nazira, do you have anything with the you would like to add? Um, maybe because of a connection issue. Yeah. Miss Nazira. Okay. It's temporary. Okay, it's okay. Never mind. Let's proceed with the next questions. So this question is okay, quite interesting. Yeah, it's pertaining to SDGs. And okay, the question sounds okay. Do you think there is enough effort regarding SDGs in youth development in ASEAN region? I think this is also to all the panelists. Okay, I know any one of you would like to answer first, or maybe Dr. John. Yes, Dr. John, please.
Yes, if I can comment, you know, it is hard as is for us to advocate for youth work in a country level. It's also very difficult in terms of the ability to connect with other organizations around the region. So currently, personally, for me, I have not really worked a lot in ASEAN level and getting that cooperation at the youth work level. Although I know in Malaysia, you are doing great work with the International Youth Center, right? Hosting symposiums and all that. So I think that continues. And so having the sustainable development goal, right? The SDG at the back of our mind knows that the reality is that youth workers, in terms of power and authority amongst all the others, we are at a lower level than we want to be. So I think it is with a lot of effort that's needed, with some focus in the ability to talk about it and then move along. And ASEAN level, I know there's also indices that measures all this. And I think those are good steps, but we need to take it further. I will say not enough is done at the moment, but more can be done.
Okay.
Maybe
if I may add. Okay, thank you, John. In Malaysia, we make use of our national youth policy as the blueprint that will guide, you know, all the stakeholders to support SDG through youth work. So that's why we are very much into you know, in terms of SDG 4, we want to make sure that everyone, every youth, you know, everybody have full access to quality education. So that is one thing. But I can see that in terms of other SDGs as well, we are trying our very best. But I agree with you, it requires a collaborative effort, you know, across sectors, NGOs, ministries, industry partners, to make sure that this thing can move on accordingly. So that is why we make use of that national youth policy and trying to get the buy-in of all the stakeholders to make sure that that is not, when you talk about youth development in the national youth policy, it's not just the job of the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the youth NGOs. Actually, it's the job of everyone involved, because this is about building your country. So hopefully our national youth policy is planned for 20 years, you know, from 2015 to 2035. So we are now completing our maybe first phase, you know, after 5 years. Hopefully we can look back and then bounce back to make sure that whatever is planned in the policy can be translated according to what we hope that we can get. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Ismi. I think okay, currently we're still waiting for new questions, and I think yes, okay, maybe from the SDG perspective, there is no specific terms or something refer to youth work. But however, for the youth, okay, there are two goals which are most relevant to the youth, which are the goal number 4, pertaining to economics, the economics goals, and sorry, number 4, the education goals, and goal number 8, which is related to the to the what we call that decent work and economics. And I'm still waiting for new questions. Okay, from just to remind to our audiences, if you have any questions, okay, please do not hesitate to key in the questions in your Facebook Live, and we will get the panelists to answer to you. And please, when key in the questions, please indicate your name and to which panelist would you like to direct to. Okay, any questions from the floor, please? So I think while we are waiting for okay, maybe we're waiting for the secretary to update the questions. Maybe we can maybe we can get a request the panelists to share a little bit, or maybe to conclude your okay, to conclude about your presentation or what you have shared with us just now. Maybe and also give some remarks for future improvements. May I start this? Okay. May I start from Dr. No, this time I think Prof is Ismi. Okay, maybe we have Prof Ismi to start first. Thank you, Prof Ismi.
Okay, thank you, Tay.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Okay, before I conclude, I would like to thank CAYWA. I want to thank Malaysian Youth Council for inviting me, for organizing this. Thank you, John and Nazira. Your insights are very valuable. I believe that at the end of the day, it goes back to the spirit of collaboration based on mutual understanding and mutual respect. And basically, this will help us to address all these issues of, bureaucratic challenges, political challenges and whatnot, because this is about our youth. So if we can really have a very open mind, see this as our mission, and fight, to help youth who are not only the future leaders but also the present leaders, partners in nation building, I think things will be in the right footing. What more during this pandemic situation, the VUCA world, it requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of respect and understanding, a lot of positivity, and the use of technology will enhance that collaboration. Let's make use of the technology that is affordable to everybody, to make sure that no one is left behind and we can grow together. Thank you, Tay. Thank you, John and Nazira.
Yeah, thank you very much to Prof Ismi. Yeah, now okay, let's move to Miss Nazira. Yeah, Miss Nazira, can you please conclude your about this session and this webinar, okay, for today? Maybe, and you can also suggest some improvement to the existing youth work. Thank you.
I just would like to say that I've never felt that youth work has stopped during COVID pandemic. It's never stopped, and the fact that a lot of us finding new ways to help, finding new ways to advocate and educate, it shows that how our youth are very very strategic, and they are able to mobilize simply by a very good problem solver. And it's a skill that I think is very important that for all youth workers to have. So basically simply just trying finding new ways and not afraid of changing how we have been using it right now, and learning from what we currently have with the pandemic. I mean, before this, we like to work in silos. We have face-to-face meetings and workshops, but now we are able to do online. We are able to engage with more people, and I feel like if we want to move forward and do better, there should be trainings more in how we can handle a pandemic after this. I mean, like a lot of people want to help. I mean, we seen the question. A lot of people want to help, but not necessarily know how or how they want to start. So maybe we can have more trainings for youth, especially in how they can deal or how they can try to solve or try to help with a certain uh, crisis that our country is facing. And with that, I feel I agree with the other panelists that we do need a sense of collaboration between all of us, so that you don't have to do it alone. We have a very great network everywhere, so we have to utilize that. And that's it.
So I think I'm the only one left to
Thank you,
speak.
Ms. Nazira. Yeah, Dr. John, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nazira. Thanks for coming back. Yeah, I always want to tell my friends in especially Malaysian Youth Council and IOIC, although I've been in youth work for some years now, it was in the year 2006 when I first attended a seminar, a symposium that was hosted by IOIC in Cheras. And I liked it so much. It was from there that I got to meet, legends like Prof. Ismi, and then I made friends with Prof. Ismi, and then Dr. Lee. So this is an example of what is possible. Through the years now, we have kept our connectivity, our connections, because in VUCA world, as Prof mentioned earlier, collaboration is indispensable. It is not optional. It is indispensable because you have to work together. And so firstly, is on the level of being a concerned and caring adult for young people, then amongst themselves, the adults have to collaborate with the young to model how this is going to be. And going forward, I would say that such, collaborative partnerships have to be nurtured, and we can do more. As the COVID pandemic has shown, all this is possible. The fact that today we're having this shows that it's possible. And let's do more, because along the way, we are going to have bigger problems. And it cannot be solved by siloed effort. It has to be solved by people talking, by us knowing each other, by us trusting, and then going forward. So I think it's the only way forward. And whatever we have learned from the COVID is this. And if you don't learn it fast enough, this is going to show up again, right? So my dream is that through CAYWA, for example, Commonwealth, 50 over countries, right? We are really, trying our best to make that kind of connections. And at least for us, speaking from a Singapore point of view, we definitely want to collaborate more with Malaysian Youth Council and IOIC. We are all neighbors, right? So close. Yet, let's do something more for the sake of the young people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. John, Prof. Ismi, and also Ms. Nazira. Thanks for concluding. From you all, we know that to overcome the issues and challenges is not the duty of one individual or one organization. It is the duty of all of us, and all the organizations, all the governments keep putting their hands together to overcome the challenges and also to make the world better. So now we are coming to the end of our webinar session today. So I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists again, Dr. John, Prof. Ismi, and also Ms. Nazira. Thank you for sparing your time and your willingness to share with us a lot of very valuable knowledge and also experiences you have, and also many insightful ideas. And once again, also I would like to thank all the participants, for being with us, in this 1.5 hour and more, in this webinar. So I hope this forum session will give much benefit to all of you. And remember, Together, we make the world better, more resilient, and more sustainable. Thank you very much again, and hope to see you soon. Keep safe and keep well.
Thank you.
See you again. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Thank you, John,
Take care.
Nazira, IYC,
Okay, see
Thank you.
you.
CAYWA, and
Thank you,
MYC.
Doctor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Nazira. And thank you, everyone. See you again.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.